I'm just doing that to scare anybody Republican who tried to sneak in here. Orale! I'm here for two reasons. The first reason is to get Barack Obama to be the next president of the United States of America. And the second reason is to take some green chile back to Los Angeles. Are you ready for an inclusive America? Are you ready for an America that embraces every person of every color? Are you ready for that America? Are you ready for that America? The America that looks like Costco on a Saturday afternoon. Where you don't need a card. They told me that they would expect 20,000 people. They said, George, it'd be optimistic to get 20,000 people. Well, you know what? Let's let them know what 25,000 people plus sound like. Now let's let them know what it sounds like for 25,000 people plus to chant the name of the next president of the United States of America. That's what I'm talking about, New Mexico. That's what I'm talking about. I was a little disappointed when Barack Obama picked the vice president because I thought I was on the list. Because from my porch, I can see Mexico. So I have foreign policy experience. This campaign for me started at the grassroots. Barack Obama called me in February at my house, and my wife, my grandmother told me, I don't want people like that calling my house cochino. He said, can you help me get a Latino following? And this was way back before. This was way back. I went to Home Depot and got 8 guys. That's how this started. I've been coming to New Mexico for 20 years and doing stand-up. 20 years George Lopez has been coming to New Mexico. I've been to the top of the Sandia Mountains. And I didn't take the tram, I went up Latino style, we walked. I've eaten at Sadie's. And I had chorro to prove it. I've been to El Pinto. I've had tamales from El Modelo. And I've been drunk having breakfast at the Frontier. On Route 66. New Mexico, this is your duty to vote early, to let America know that New Mexico is going to make the difference in this election. This state, New Mexico, it's New Mexico that's going to pave the way for a new America. It's your duty to vote. How many people have voted already? That's a lot of people. I don't believe you guys, but thank you anyways. Vote early. And this goes for the Latinos here, because we never do anything early. You understand what I'm saying? We're late to meetings. We're late to work. That's why our hair looks wet. It's dry, but it looks wet. We're late with the rent. And we have a chance to do something we've never done before. Be early. Latinos can scare people. If you do anything early, you can scare people. They're like, can I help you? Yeah, you're 20 minutes early. This is our job. This is one of the greatest states in all of the United States, New Mexico, where you can buy chile on the side of a road from a person selling it out of his car, and come back a year later and buy it from the same person in the same car, parked in the same place. One thing I want to say is I don't think that people give Latinos enough credit for where we are as far as the environment is concerned. Do you understand what I'm saying? Al Gore, the first Latino to run for president, because his full name is El Gordito. Let's not forget about the first one too. He got a lot of, he won an Academy Award for his environmental. But let me tell you this, everybody's looking for alternative energy. It was the Latino who first embraced the concept of solar power. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's quiet, so I know you don't. When a window was broken, it was a Latino that put foil in that window to keep the heat in. To keep the heat in. Everybody talks about alternative fuel and carpooling and the ride-along program. It was the Latino who put 20 people in a Monte Carlo first. Remember? You remember? We need to get this economy back on track and working for every American. This economy needs to work for all people, not just the wealthy, the all people. Listen, I love to eat fried bologna. I think we all do. Because we were poor when we grew up. It wasn't even Oscar Mayer, it was bologna with the red string. Poor people bologna. So I still like to eat fried bologna, but I want to eat it by choice, not because I have to. That's why we need to get this economy back on track. And as adults, we have to send the message to these children that are here tonight, to every child that's here, that we want to make the United States of America better for them. You have a chance to set an example for all these kids, all of your kids and your grandchildren, that America could be the place that we always thought it would be, a place where you can dream and where dreams come true. We used our imagination when we were kids. And now kids have Wiis and PlayStation and Xboxes. It's time to connect with your kids. We didn't have Wiis and PlayStations. We had air guitar and we were poor, we had to borrow it. We need better health care, especially for Latinos, because we never go to the doctor. The minute we get sick, we don't want to know. I'm not going to the doctor because I don't want to know. I think 7-Up is always going to be the best remedy. Drinking a can of 7-Up and burping it out is a good remedy. But it's not the answer. We need a better healthcare system, and Barack Obama is going to give us a better healthcare system when we elect him president. I'm not saying that Vicks doesn't work. I'm not gonna lie to you, it does. I'm not saying that a cure isn't sana sana colita de rana. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say menudo doesn't make you feel better. It's a great remedy. Now, we have to vote early. You guys are here. Senator Obama is going to be here shortly. You're going to have to give more love than that. Senator Obama is going to be... That's right. Obama, 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 Obama. Let's remember, this is the United States of America, not the divided states of America. I have a dream too. I have a dream. I have a dream that when we elect Senator Barack Obama president of the United States for one night, he would invite me and allow me to the White House. Allow me, George Lopez, a poor kid with no mother and father, to go to the White House. All I want is to spend one night in the Lincoln bedroom. Wake up in the morning and eat a chorizo burrito in bed. I can't get there without you. I need all your help. I can't make that dream happen unless we elect Barack Obama president of the United States. I'm ready for change. Are you ready for change? Are you ready for change? Are you ready for change? Who is that change? Who is that change? Thank you very much, everybody. Viva la raza. Viva Barack Obama. Gracias. Thank you, New Mexico.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, New Mexico. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. I am so grateful to all of you for being here. What a magnificent crowd. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Some special acknowledgments I have to make. First of all, to one of the finest governors in the country and one of the finest public servants of a generation. Give it up for Bill Richardson. To a great friend, a great gentleman, and a great senator, Senator Jeff Bingaman. Thank you so much to Lieutenant Governor Diane Dinesh. Give her a big round of applause. Senate candidate, soon to be Senator, now Congressman Tom Udall. Congressional candidate and soon-to-be Congressman Martin Heinrich. Congressional candidate in the 2nd CD, Ben Ray Lujan. Chairman of the Democratic Party of New Mexico, Brian Colon. And my great friend who traveled here, I am so grateful to him. Give it up for George Lopez. I love you back. Thank you. You know, I also want to make mention that, some of you know I was off the campaign trail yesterday. So many people have given so many well wishes to my grandmother and sent her cards and sent her flowers, and it means the world to her and it means the world to me. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's been very nice. You know, New Mexico, in 10 days, in just 10 days, you have the chance to elect the next president. You'll have the chance to bring the change we need to Washington. And that's the good news, but we're going to have to work. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to fight for every single one of those 10 days to move our country in a new direction. We cannot let up, and I know seeing this crowd here tonight that we will not let up until we've brought change to America. You know, and all of you, I hope everybody here has early voted. This is it. This is it right here. This is the vote early, vote Obama form. We need you guys to go out there and vote early. If you don't know where to go, then just go to nm.voteforchange.com or call 877-NM-CHANGE. In case you need any motivation, Al Gore won New Mexico by 366 votes in 2000. John Kerry lost by less than 6,000 votes, or 5 votes per precinct. You taking the time to go out and voting early could make all the difference in the world. Because one thing we know is that change never comes without a fight. In the final days of the campaigns, the say anything, do anything politics, a lot of times that takes over. We've seen it before, we're seeing it again now. The ugly phone calls, the misleading mail and TV ads, the careless, outrageous comments. You don't have to boo, you just have to vote. Because all these diversionary tactics, they're all aimed at keeping us from working together. All aimed at stopping us from bringing the change we need. But that's not what we need right now. The American people, they don't want to hear politicians attack each other. You want to hear about how we're going to attack the challenges facing middle-class families each and every day. What we need right now is honest leadership. What we need is transformative leadership. That's why I'm running for President of the United States, to fight for you and the middle class each and every day in the White House. Now this is a moment. Thank you. Albuquerque, this is a moment of great uncertainty for America. The economic crisis we face is the worst since the Great Depression. Businesses large and small, they're finding it impossible to get loans, which means they can't buy new equipment or hire new workers or even make payroll for the workers they have. We've lost more than 750,000 jobs this year. Wages are lower than they've been in a decade at a time when the costs of health care and college have never been higher. It's getting harder and harder to make the mortgage or fill up your gas tank or even just keep electricity on at the end of the month. At this rate, the question isn't just, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The question is, are you better off than you were 4 weeks ago? So what we need right now is a real debate about how to fix our economy and help middle-class families. But that's not what we're getting from the other side. You know, a couple of weeks ago, my opponents said that if we keep talking about the economy, we're going to lose. That's what they said. So they said they'd be focusing instead on attacking me. Now that's one promise. That's one campaign promise that they've kept. Senator McCain has been throwing everything he's got at us, everything, hoping something will stick. He's even called me a socialist for suggesting that instead of giving tax cuts to corporations and the wealthy, we should give tax cuts to the middle class. The other day he took it to a whole new level. He said that I was like, get this, George W. Bush. You can't make this stuff up. In what may be the strangest twist of a strange election season, Senator McCain said that I would somehow continue the Bush economic policies, even though I've opposed them ever since I've been in the United States Senate and ever since I was running for the United States Senate. John McCain suggested that he would be the one to change George Bush's policies. He actually denounced President Bush for letting things get completely out of hand. John McCain has been really angry about George Bush's economic policies, except he adopted all of them. Except during the primaries when he said we'd made great progress economically under George Bush. Or just last month when he said that the fundamentals of our economy are strong under George Bush. In fact, John McCain is so mad at George Bush, so opposed to George Bush's policies, that he voted with him 90% of the time for the last 8 years. That's right, John McCain really decided to stick it to George Bush 10% of the time. Well, let's be clear. John McCain attacking George Bush for his out-of-hand economic policies is like Dick Cheney attacking George Bush for his go-it-alone foreign policy. It's like Robin getting mad at Batman. John McCain hasn't been a maverick. He's been a sidekick when it comes to George Bush's economic policy. Fortunately, George Bush doesn't seem to be at all offended because yesterday he cast his vote early for Senator John McCain. And that's no surprise because when it comes to the policies that matter to middle-class families, there's not an inch of daylight between George Bush and John McCain. Just like George Bush, John McCain wants to keep giving tax breaks to oil companies and CEOs and companies that ship our jobs overseas. It's the same failed Wall Street first, Main Street last economic policies, and we're going to change it. Like George Bush, John McCain wants to tax your health care benefits that you get from your employer for the very first time in history, and let insurance companies keep discriminating against people who need health care the most. That's the same failed insurance company first, your family last health care policy that we're going to change. Like George Bush, John McCain wants to privatize part of your Social Security, leave it to the whims of the marketplace. Like George Bush, John McCain ignored this housing crisis until it was too late. Then he proposed a $300 billion bailout for Wall Street banks that hardly does anything to keep people like you staying in their homes. Just like George Bush, John McCain wants less government regulation of business. He said this again yesterday. The 21st time that he's called for less regulation just this year. Now, none of us want to see unnecessary burdens on business, but after what we've seen on Wall Street, isn't it obvious by now that we need some common sense rules of the road to protect consumers and our economy? I think we've had enough of Bush-McCain economics. I can take 10 more days of John McCain's attacks, but you can't take 4 more years of Bush-McCain economics. That's why I'm running for President of the United States of America. We're not going to let George Bush pass the torch to John McCain, and we're not going to let John McCain hide from his 26-year record. It is time for change. Now, I know these times are difficult. I know folks are worried. But I'm confident we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because I believe in this country. I believe in you. I believe in the American people. This is the United States of America. We're a nation that's faced down war and depression, great challenges and great threats. And at each and every moment, we have always risen to meet these challenges, not as Democrats, not as Republicans, but as Americans, with resolve, with confidence, with that fundamental belief that here in America, our destiny is not written by us. It's not written for us, it's written by us. We decide what our future is. You know, the Latino community has always held fast to this idea. Think about it. You and generations of Hispanics who have lived in this state and in this country for centuries have always had big dreams and big hearts and a willingness to struggle and sacrifice so the next generation doesn't have to. It's the same is true for the first Americans. The same is true for all those. The same is true for all those who came after. The same was true for my own father who came here from Kenya so many years ago because he believed America was a place where you can make it if you try. That's who we are. That's the country we need to be right now. And that's why I'm running for President of the United States of America. But New Mexico, I know this. It will take a new direction. It will take new leadership. It is time to turn the page on 8 years of economic policies that put Wall Street before Main Street, but ended up hurting both. We need policies that grow our economy from the bottom up so that every American, everywhere, has the chance to get ahead. Not just the person who owns the factory, but the men and women on the factory floor. Not just the CEO, but the secretary and the janitor. Because if we've learned anything from this economic crisis, it's that we're all connected. We're all in this together. We rise or fall as one nation, as one people. That's why I'm glad that the financial rescue plan passed the Congress a while back. That was a necessary step to ease the credit crisis and make sure that banks were lending again. But if we're going to rebuild this economy from the bottom up, we need an immediate rescue plan for the middle class. That's what I intend to do as President of the United States. Work on behalf of folks who are getting a paycheck every single day and are having a tough time right now. That's why instead of giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas, I've proposed a new American jobs tax credit. Every new employee that a company hires here in the United States over the next 2 years, they will get a tax break. It is time to invest in America again, and that is something that I'm committed to when I'm President of the United States of America. We need to create good jobs here at home. Union jobs here at home. It is time for us to give tax breaks to small businesses so they can create the jobs of the future. They are the engine of economic growth in this country. And just like I'll stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas and invest in companies that are creating good jobs here in New Mexico, we've got to make sure that we no longer are allowing these tax havens and tax loopholes for big corporations, setting up offshore accounts. We've got to put an end to that. For small businesses to get back on their feet, we're going to eliminate the capital gains tax and give them emergency loans to keep their doors open and hire new workers. And we're going to put a 3-month moratorium on foreclosures so that we give homeowners the breathing room they need to get back on their feet. We need to create a jobs and growth fund to help states and local governments who are struggling so that they can keep jobs and pay for health care and education without having to raise your property taxes. Now, these are the steps that we have to take right now to start our economy moving again. But we also need a new set of priorities to grow our economy and create jobs over the long term. And it starts with tax relief. There's been a lot of talk about taxes in this campaign. The truth is, my opponent and I are both proposing tax cuts. The difference is he wants to give tax cuts to Fortune 500 CEOs, an average of $700,000 per Fortune 500 CEO. I want to put a middle-class tax cut in your pocket, in the pocket of 95% of workers and their families. Under my tax plan, tax rates will actually be lower than they were under Ronald Reagan. Now, it's true I want to roll back the Bush tax cuts on the wealthiest Americans and go back to the rate they paid under Bill Clinton. They were still rich under Bill Clinton. Millionaires and billionaires, they were doing fine under Bill Clinton. Now, John McCain calls that socialism. What he forgets is that just a few years ago, he himself said that the Bush tax cuts were irresponsible. He said, I couldn't in good conscience support a tax cut where the benefits went to the wealthy at the expense of middle-class Americans who most need tax relief. Well, he was right then, and I'm right now. So, let me just see a show of hands. This is a big crowd here. Let me see a show of hands, Albuquerque. How many of you make less than $250,000 a year? I hope the cameras are catching this. Let me be crystal clear. If you make less than $250,000 a year, which includes 98% of small business owners and 99.5% of plumbers, you won't see your taxes increase one single dime. Not your payroll tax, not your income tax, not your capital gains tax, no tax. That's my commitment to you. After all, for the last 8 years, we've tried it John McCain's way. We've tried it George Bush's way. It doesn't work. We've given more and more to millionaires and billionaires and hoped that prosperity trickled down on everybody else. It did not work. It's time to try something new. It's time to grow this economy by investing in the middle class again, and that's what I'll do when I'm president. As president, I will invest $15 billion a year in renewable sources of energy to create 5 million new green jobs over the next decade. Jobs that pay well, jobs that can't be outsourced. We'll open up those old factories to start building solar panels and wind turbines. We won't build the fuel-efficient cars of the future in South Korea or Japan. We'll build them right here in the United States of America. We'll end our dependence on oil from the Middle East, and we might just save our planet in the bargain. And I'll put 2 million more Americans to work, rebuilding our roads, our schools, our bridges, laying broadband lines all across rural New Mexico so everybody can access the internet, so the companies can locate there. It's time to build an American infrastructure for the 21st century. And if people ask you, how are we going to pay for all this? You tell them, if we can spend $10 billion a month in Iraq, we can spend some of that money rebuilding America, rebuilding New Mexico. Yes, we can. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. As president, I will finally fix the problems in our healthcare system that we've been talking about for decades. This is personal for me. My mother died of cancer at the age of 53. I'll never forget how she spent the final months of her life lying in a hospital bed, fighting with her insurance company because they said this was a pre-existing condition. They didn't want to pay for her treatment. I know what it's like to see a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. It is wrong, and that's why when I'm president, we are going to make sure that insurance companies can't do it again, that they cannot discriminate against those who need care the most. Now, if you have health care, then we are going to make sure that we lower your premiums. Otherwise, you can keep your own plan. You can keep your choice of doctors. If you don't have health care, then we are going to make sure that you can buy into the same kind of health care that members of Congress, including John McCain, give themselves. We're going to invest in prevention and new technologies to make sure that we do not, that young people and old people alike, that they are getting the health care that they need, and we are also going to make sure that we're lowering costs for everybody, for businesses, for families, for the economy as a whole. That's the change we need. And you know what else we're going to do? We're also going to make sure that every child in America gets the best education that this country has to offer. It is time for us to stop talking about being the education president. We need an education president. We've got to make sure that every child, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, it doesn't matter, that they're all getting the health care that they need in order to compete in the 21st century. So that means not just more money, but it also means more reform. It means that I'm going to invest in making sure that every child has access to early childhood education so they can compete with any worker anywhere in the world. But it also means we're going to pay our teachers higher salaries and give them more support. We're going to have higher standards and higher accountability. And it means that every young person out here who's got the skills and the will and the drive to go to college, that we are going to send them to college in exchange for community service. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is a commitment that I'm going to make to the American people and to the young people of America. I'm tired of seeing overflowing classes in underfunded schools where Hispanic students are dropping out faster than nearly anyone else. I'm tired of seeing young people who've got the skills to go to college but just don't have the money. We can do better here in New Mexico. We can do better all across the country. That's why I'm running for president. Now, I want you all to know that this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. George Bush has dug a deep hole for us, and it's going to take some time for us to dig ourselves out. But one of the things that I'm absolutely confident about is that we can do it, but we can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. And we can't do it with the same kind of divisions, the same kinds of slash and burn politics that we've become so accustomed to over the last decade, over the last 2 decades, over the last 3 decades. We've got to remember that we're all in this together as Americans. You know, and one of the things that has been really upsetting is seeing how the immigration issue has been used as a way to divide us. You know, Senator McCain used to buck his party by fighting for immigration reform, and I admired him for it. But when he was running for his party's nomination, he changed his tune. He said that he wouldn't support his own legislation if it came up for a vote. When it was time to write his party's platform, comprehensive immigration reform never made it in. So you've got to ask the convention, how's he going to stand up for it when he's president of the United States? How can you trust him to make sure that we finally solve this problem instead of using it as a wedge issue? Well, you know where I stand. I'm proud of the commitment I made for comprehensive immigration reform in our Democratic Party platform. I was a proud champion of Comprehensive Immigration Reform Act. That's the kind of partner that I intend to be in the White House. That's the kind of leadership that New Mexico deserves. That's the kind of leadership that America deserves. I'll work with Bill Richardson to secure our borders. We'll crack down on employers who exploit undocumented workers and undercut American workers. And we will put those 12 million people living in the shadows on a path to earn citizenship, to get them out of the shadows. They broke the law. They broke the law, and we can't excuse that, but we can't deport 12 million people. We'll require them to pay a fine and learn English and go to the back of the line for citizenship behind those who came legally, but we are going to give them a path to become legal. That's how we'll reconcile our values as both a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws. Now, the change we need won't come easy. It won't come without a cost. We all need to tighten our belts, and we all need to sacrifice. We all need to pull our own weight. You know, I can invest more in education for our children, but I can't be the parent who turns off the TV set and makes sure your kids do your homework. That's your job. I can put more money into renewable energy, but all of us, think about if everybody who was here made sure that they took simple steps, turning off the lights when you leave the room, checking the pressure on your tires. All those things add up. We've got to become a more energy efficient nation. Now more than ever, we are all in this together. And at this defining moment, we don't have the luxury of relying on the same political games, the same political tactics that are used every election to divide us from one another. With the challenges and crises we face right now, we can't afford to divide this country by class or region, by who we are, what politics we support. Contrary to what my opponents say, there are no real or fake parts of this country. We're not separated by the pro-America and anti-America parts of this nation. We all love this country, no matter where we live, no matter where we come from. There are patriots who supported this war in Iraq and patriots who opposed it. Patriots who believe in democratic policies and those who believe in Republican policies. The men and women from New Mexico and all across America who served on our battlefields. They may be Democrats and Republicans and independents, but they have fought together and bled together, and some have died together under the same proud flag. They've not served the red America or blue America. They've served the United States of America, and we better not forget that. You know, New Mexico, we've always been at our best when we had leadership that called on us to look past our differences, to come together. Leadership that rallied the entire country around a common purpose, a higher purpose. I'm running for president because that's the country we need to be. That's who we are. This country and the dream it represents are being tested in a way that we haven't seen in nearly a century. And future generations, they're going to judge us by how we responded. They'll ask us, is this the time when America lost its sense of purpose, when we lost our nerve, when we allowed the same divisions and fears to plunge us in a deeper recession? Or will they say this was another one of those moments when America overcame, when we battled back from adversity by recognizing the common stake we have in each other's success? Now, this is one of these critical moments in our history. I know many of you are cynical and fed up with politics. I understand you're disappointed, even angry with some of your leaders. You have every right to be. But despite all of this, I ask of you what's been asked of the American people throughout our history. I ask you to believe. Believe in yourselves. Believe in each other. Believe in the future we can build together. You hold this election in your hands. You hold this election in your hands. Latino community, you hold this election in your hands. You can be the swing vote all across the country. You know, it is so important for us to turn out this election because the only reason each of us are here today is because somebody fought for us. Somebody stood up for us. Somebody believed. We cannot fail. Not this time. Not when there are families out there who don't have health care. Children out there who can't go to college. People out there who are losing their homes. This is our moment for us to seize our own destiny. And think about it. Everybody here, look at the thousands of people who are here. Every single one of you, you've got a parent or a grandparent who said to themselves, you know what, I may not be able to go to college, but I'm going to work hard. I'm going to save so my grandchild can go to college. They said to themselves, you know, I may never own my own business. I'm going to have to work hard and in this dirty, tough job. But if I save enough, if I work hard enough, then maybe someday my child or my grandchild, they'll be able to start their own business. I may not have freedom in my own country, but But I'm looking across those waters and I see this land of opportunity and freedom called America. And so I'm going to emigrate there and make a new life for my children and my grandchildren. There are parents and grandparents who said, I may not be able to vote, but my child or grandchild, they might be able to run for Congress. They might be able to run for the United States Senate. They might even be able to run for the presidency of the United States of America. That's the story of this country, of each generation fighting for the next. And if you will stand with me in 10 more days, if you will vote for me, if you will march with me, if you'll organize with me, if you'll early vote for me, I promise you, New Mexico, we will not just win this election, but you and I together, we're going to change the country and change the world. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.